Welcome to Holistic Wellness for People, Pets, and the Planet, a space where we explore the connections between human well-being, animal wellness, and the world we share. I'm your host, Arlana, and through We Wellness, I'll be guiding these conversations to help you discover new perspectives, practical tools, and meaningful connections. Welcome to Holistic Wellness for People, Pets, and the Planet. Today I'm joined by Holly Blazina. Her Gutsy Type method is a rich alchemy of Ayurveda, yoga, embodied vision, coaching, and dreamwork. Holly is a published author, flamenco guitarist, award-winning composer, and recording artist. People come to her when they're ready to unlock the food and mood cues to heal their entire gut, health, mind, spirit axis. That sounds amazing. Welcome to the podcast, Holly.
Thank you so much for having me, Arlana.
I am really excited to finally get to do this with you.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it for a bit.
It's always so interesting how you end up connecting with people out of the blue and then you realize that you have things in common.
Yes.
So that was really, really cool. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I took my Ayurvedic wellness for animals. And you don't talk to or connect with other people who follow that path as often as you think you might. So to me, that's kind of one of the really interesting questions I have for you is, of all that you've done and where you've been, and we'll get into a little bit of your history, but what actually attracted you to following, the Ayurvedic methodology?
Well, I mean, who doesn't love types? I mean, the first time I heard about the Ayurvedic types, I was just like, oh my gosh, tell me more. And I noticed that's one of the things that, when I'm just connecting with people initially about their gut, one of the first things I hear them say is, I didn't know there were different gut types. And that's a huge revelation to them right there. And of course it was for me too. So yeah, as soon, and you would appreciate this too, because we all know there's divine timing for everything. So I was actually, one of my mentors was talking about the Ayurvedic types, and I said, is there a resource that you can recommend? And I bought it, and it was like reading Greek. And it sat on my shelf for about 5 years. And then all of a sudden I picked it up and I couldn't put it down.
Mm,
So, like we actually can't absorb anything until
we're
there's that
ready.
divine timing. Like we can't,
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
we just have to get the mind out of the way with these things, right?
Well, uh, I really think it's amazing how you're using all of this together because this whole methodology does have a lot of powerful healing and wellness built right in, that's been around for many, many years. And I don't think there are a lot of people who even consider that, our personalities, our individual metabolisms do require or would benefit much more greatly from looking at it from that point of view. One, method does not work for everyone. So this is amazing work that you're doing. So let's talk now. Let's backtrack a little bit, but maybe tell us a little bit about what led you on this journey in the first place and how you got involved in this specific speciality.
Sure. Well, so it all started with my work in music and as a flamenco guitarist. And one of the things I struggled greatly with was stage fright. And yeah, it was just incredible. I mean, it was just like can't sleep for 2 weeks before a performance. I mean, I didn't end up throwing up before I'd go on stage, but almost everything but that. I was just like a ball of nerves. And in the process of, I mean, when I started, so I was classically trained. When I started studying flamenco, though, it was just like a dream come true for the first year. And I was like I was healing. I had had chronic fatigue and I was getting better. I believe part of that is because I was just doing something I really loved.
Mm.
Um, and then within a year, I ended up being sidelined for a year with an injury that just, I needed to just rebuild everything from the ground up. And when I say that, it was like not just the music piece, it was the whole way that I approached the instrument. It was the way that, yeah. And so my physiotherapist had said to me, if you ever stop doing yoga, she found out that I did yoga. She said, if you ever stop doing yoga, your playing career is going to be over because with all the stuff that's going on in your body, she said, you need this. So I'm a bit of a go big or go home type of gal. So I signed up for a 2-year, 600-hour training program.
Wow.
And yeah, because I was determined I am never going to be without the tools. And I had injured myself in enough yoga classes as well that it was just like, I want to know that if I'm serving my body, I'm going to be doing the things that really and truly serve. That I'm not going to be going into some yoga class in another city and guessing as to whether that's going to be helpful for me or not. And with everything that I had suffered through, I mean, pinched nerves, repetitive strain injuries, scoliosis, back pain, the whole 9 yards. It was really, really a painful time a painful number of years that I went through. And yeah, so that was really important to me. And then, of course, even in those days, you could not go to a yoga class. I mean, you could go to a yoga class, but like to do an in-depth training, sooner or later, you're going to run across Ayurveda, which at that time it was pretty little known. We didn't know, like here in the West, it wasn't one of the buzzwords like it is now.
Mm.
So yeah, once I tapped into this, found out what it was, I was just like, oh my goodness, I totally need to do a program in this. So I ended up doing a program through the American Institute of Vedic Studies.
Very cool. And through your own, what you went through, and that's kind of helped you, morph it and change it and mold it into a program that helps serve you. And
Yes.
now you can use that, your experiences and that methodology to help others. That's,
Well, 100%. And I mean, this is the thing is that I had had chronic fatigue since I was 17.
whoa.
So I had that for over 10 years. And over that time, I was on a really restricted diet. I started doing yoga and I got like a percentage of my energy back. But it wasn't until years later when I started to really apply the Ayurveda work and really stepping into, what I need for my exact type,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of exercise I need, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I was in my late 40s, I felt like I was before I got mono when I was 17. And like to feel like you're 17 in your 40s, that was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing.
It's like a do-over.
It was a do-over. It really was.
That's very cool. So how long have you been actually, besides practicing it personally, like actually reaching out and working with clients and what's that journey been like?
That journey, like many of them, has been a trail of breadcrumbs. So I recorded an album in 2017, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go and start my health business, which by the way, that's in my astrology chart that I would do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
cool.
who knew? I didn't know at the time that this is what I was going to do, but I did. And so then I started serving people and figuring out like who exactly do I need to serve and how do I need to serve them? What's the best way for me to serve them? And so that all started in 2018. And I have to say, when I started a little group program for my first little group of gut clients. I mean, I had worked with a few people one-on-one, but when I started working with this group, I was just like, or actually, even when I started working with my very first clients, I was absolutely blown away by how quickly they got results. I was actually jealous of them because it had taken me decades to get the results that they were getting in weeks.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, no,
so then there's the blessing. Is then
yeah,
eventually,
there's a confirmation that you're on the right path, right? And
yeah,
that really does make you feel good, to know that your experiences actually have that much value, you know,
oh,
that,
for sure.
you know,
Yeah,
that,
and that there was a reason for it and that it serves.
yeah, well, you're the one who's responsible. You turned it around. There are many people who don't recognize in themselves, that their journey has that kind of power. So that's
Yeah,
amazing. That's
yeah.
fantastic. Do you have any like specific examples without being too specific about, some of the transformations that you've seen?
Oh, for sure. And I can talk about I mean, this one client of mine who's just so dear to me, and she's always giving me full permission to share. So when she came to me at first, and she had been following my work for a while, we'd met through the flamenco community locally. And when she decided that she wanted to start doing the work with me, um, she cried 3 times on the sales call. She had PTSD, she'd had cancer, she was having some really difficult family relationships, and then she had all this gut stuff going on at the same time. And it was just astounding. I mean, and so then as much as the Ayurveda is so I mean, it's not even that Ayurveda wasn't helpful. I mean, the food part of the Ayurveda, we didn't even talk about food for the first 10 weeks. We worked with her nervous system, we worked with her beliefs, we did some of that deep rewiring and that deep reframing that you can't just do with the left brain, where everybody says, "Oh, you should tell yourself that you're worthy." Well, your left brain can't just do that for you, and we can't just go and regulate our nervous system into submission, right? So in this case, we did some very deep work with her. And even after the first session, she messaged me the next day and she said, "I just am so amazed." She said, "My guts are working normally this morning."
Mm,
And so over the last 2 years, so we've been working more and more with those deep belief sessions and just like unpacking. But I mean, and this is the thing that I always find with people as we start talking about, the T word, trauma,
mm,
where people are going like, "Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that." And I don't want to say that it's completely pleasant all the time. It can be very, very difficult. It can be very challenging, but it's not like we live in a new paradigm now. We don't live in the paradigm anymore where you have to go to therapy for 20 years and maybe even be told that, "Oh, you're never going to be normal." That we've got tools now. We know that that doesn't have to be for people.
mhm. Yeah, there's so much of it that we can identify and release without, giving it a name per se. You
Yes.
it's
Well, or without even necessarily going into any kind of a story about it at all.
mm,
I mean, certainly in my experience with yoga, I can remember some of those early releases that I had in yoga classes where I would be doing a practice and all of a sudden I would just start crying for no reason.
yeah,
And in those days, I didn't know not to give it a story.
right.
Just let it move. Just let it move
Yeah,
and let it move.
yeah,
And then it moves. And then, okay, you're free of that piece, whatever it was. For me, I think of it as taking out the garbage.
yeah,
When you take out the garbage, you just wrap it up and take it out.
yeah,
You don't have to go and say, "Oh, did I throw out something here that's useful?" No, you've already determined
yeah.
that's garbage. And so this is also part of the process of digesting life.
Mm,
And so in the embodied vision work that we do, where and just like the way your gut does, you eat something and your body breaks it down, processes it, sends all the nutrients to where they're supposed to go, sends the fibers to where they're supposed to go, sends the waste out. We do the same exact process with the mind, the emotions, and our spiritual selves
mm,
in the embodied vision work, where we recall a situation, or we maybe it's not the situation yet. Maybe just say, "Oh, I'm struggling to do X or Y. I can't." I can't follow my diet is one of the things that I hear from people sometimes. And then what we find is that sometimes people will have those objections. I had one client who the objection she came with that was, it's buried in plain sight, is that she was used to going to a restaurant with her sister, and every single time her sister would always send the thing back. And she was like, I do not want to become a food diva. Right. So then when she, parsed that out and said, okay, so that's what I don't want. And this is, these are the good things that are coming from this. Then you can embody, then you can take the garbage out. Right. And it's really that simple.
Mm.
And so, coming back to my client who had, the PTSD and I mean, she'd had, bowel cancer and a whole, she'd had MS, she had like a whole schedule of things going on. Now, 2 years later, she's gotten off of some of her meds, not all of them, but she's gotten off of some of them. She's reduced others. She's regular. Her guts aren't bothering her anymore, and she's at peace every day.
Oh, wow. Huge change. Wow. So, do you want to, now that we've led a little bit into the reset, do you want to talk to people a little bit about what that looks like, what your group reset program looks like?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the 5-day gut brain reset is all about working with the food and mood cues, like we talked about, or like you mentioned in your introduction. And so one of the things that I just, as an artist, just absolutely have always loved is preparing food. And so all the way along in my Ayurveda training, I was constantly taking the principles and applying them to food. And of course, food was part of the curriculum, but I was going in deeper and going in deeper. And so one of the things, my first clients were every single one of my family members, because I was just giving them, the Gutsy Type Quiz, or that's what it eventually became, is the Gutsy Type Quiz. And so one of the things that I discovered over time was that when I worked with people, either in my group programs previously or one-on-one, they were always saying, hey, can you give us some recipes?
Mm.
So I just thought I'm going to make this beautiful meal plan along with recipes to make it easy for people, so that once they identify their gutsy type, then and the recipes, I'm going to say they're tweakable. Right. So we work through all of that. And so we work with that on a very practical level. But then there's also pieces that we work on that, and these are some of the pieces that I share with my clients that maybe even get them results in the first 24 hours. And what are some of the simple things that we can do every day when we're sitting down to a meal to make sure that meal, that we enjoy it and that it sits well with us. So these are some of the non-food Ayurvedic principles. And then we also, I include some gutsy yoga practices. And I also do a little bit of the embodied vision mindset work and the welcome call, so that people get a taste of that and they get to connect with why do I think this might not work for me? They signed up, so they obviously, there's a part of them that believes it, there's a part of them that doesn't believe it.
Mhm.
There's a part of them that feels like, okay, I'll give it a try. There's another part of them that feels like they're going to fail. And so we work with that in that mindset call, so that people, so it's not just a reset where you say, okay, make sure you're eating whole foods for the next 5 days, done. Post your your food pictures in the chat. No, we go in deep, and everybody gets a taste of the full Gutsy type method work, as well as doing some of the subconscious work.
Mhm.
One of the pieces that I do offer in my one-to-one program, and I'm going to take it into a group masterclass situation, is what I call the gut blueprint session. So people can really dive into what is their type and what things do they need to know about their type. And so that's a thing that I just give people the tip of the iceberg in the reset. And
Mhm.
for many people, that's all they need, because then the reset recipes, they just follow it as is, and they just learn a few principles and they're off to the races. It's really beautiful. And then other people come in and they just really want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know more detail about, well, how do I know which foods and tastes? They don't like, they just want to understand it.
Yeah.
So, so for those people, I either do a gut blueprint reading one-on-one, or I'm also going to be creating a group class for that, or like a group master class that people can just either participate live, or they can they can go ahead and just buy the replay of the master class and get what they need from it.
Well, this all kind of feeds back to what we spoke about in the beginning, and that's recognizing that we can't solve all the problems using one method for everyone, right? So just in the same
100%.
way as our personalities are, some people are very inquisitive. They want to know, how's it work? Tell me more. Some people want to just
Yes.
say, make it happen. Let's
Yes,
let's get this
exactly.
going.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And
so
so I'd like to be able to serve those all of those people in whatever way they need.
yeah, no, that I'm just commenting that that is such a unique part of the whole system and embracing that whole system within your methodology, right? Because it's something that, we've learned to understand is there's not a one size fits all. And some things work better for some people and some for others. And being more aware of that and giving them that flexibility and permission, right?
Yeah, to be themselves.
Yeah, to embrace it in the way that fits them is so beautiful. So we've touched on your reset, a little bit on the one-to-one work. I know you've got some really exciting things coming up too that you want to talk about.
Shall we talk about the book? Would you like to do that?
Sure, yes, please.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. This is a topic that is so dear to my heart. So I was invited to be part of a book about brave families. And it was based on some other writing that I had done, that this person reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to be part of this?" And so we ended up having a meeting, and she said, "Okay, great. So we've determined that you're a perfect fit. Which story would you like to tell?" And the first story that came to my mind was this one that it's been alive in me for, well, since I was born, really, because I was born on the anniversary of my aunt's passing.
Hmm.
So my grandparents gave birth to a baby girl. So this is on my dad's side, and she died when she was 3 months old. And so then there was just so much grief in the family about it. And then I was the firstborn grandchild on both sides, and a girl as well. And so on the one hand, I felt extremely loved, extremely treasured. I mean, I just had an entire family of adoring aunts and uncles and grandparents and the whole thing. And at the same time, there was also what I've come to understand as a like a field of grief and suffering that was an undercurrent of I didn't that was one of the things that was just really, it was really hiding. It was not in plain sight at all. I didn't understand, but it's like I realized that, and of course my grandparents, you and I talked about this before, that my grandparents are or were part of a mystery school. And so part of the belief in this mystery school is in reincarnation. So there was this obvious question, well, am I her? And so, yeah, and so for me, not wanting to let go of that story, because one of the gifts was that here I was, almost a celebrity in my own family. Like, who would want to let that go, right? So, and so through the writing of this beautiful chapter, I've been able to, you know, understand that whole thing a lot better. I've been able to retrieve some of the gifts and let go of some of the fears, and of course retain, you know, my beautiful life. This, I mean, we just all have this gift of life that we've been given. And
That's,
so,
yeah. How exciting for you to be able to share that, and the discuss writing that chapter probably helped you to assimilate and understand it a lot more as well.
well, 100%. And in real time right now, I mean, when I decided to write that chapter, I already had a frozen shoulder. It had been diagnosed as a frozen shoulder by my massage therapist. And when I agreed to write the chapter, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until the point where I, like all winter long, Arlana, I was waking up in pain every single night. I could barely sleep. And this actually ended up feeding into the story, into the chapter, because I would be woken up at night with various insights from, you know, relatives on the other side, we'll say, and getting little pieces of insight and so on. And then over the course of the winter and over the course of having written the book, the pain in the shoulder went away. Like I would say I'm no longer in pain. Like I can sleep well again. And I have been ever since I've mostly finished the chapter, that was when the pain resolved. So I'm still working through the mobility, but it's
That's
getting better every
fantastic.
day. And so there was just a tremendous amount of that grief and suffering that had lodged itself in my body.
Hmm. So it helped you to acknowledge it, release it, and
Yes.
moving forward. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So we're getting close to the launch date. Do you want to tell everybody when that is and when they can watch for it?
Yes, I would love to. So the launch date is July 7th, and the book is called Brave Families, and it's going to be available on Amazon. So if that, or if there's another family topic that, you know, maybe listeners have been suffering with, go and get the book. It has got so many resources, and there are so many resources that are being created on the back side of that too. So,
Again, congratulations. I can't wait to get a peek at the chapter. It's really exciting. And we will post all that information in the description as well, so people can be aware and find out how to get their copy and when it's actually is available. I don't know if there's anything else in particular. I would love for you to just mention a little bit more about your music.
oh, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, so I mean, I guess actually I can include, or if anybody, I'll just say this. Listeners can go to their favorite listening platform. I don't believe it's on Google Play because that wasn't there when the album was released, but any of the other platforms. And if you just do a search for my name, Holly Blazina, then you can have a listen to my album, which I have to say that was my album was also felt like a real act of courage for me to put that out because, you know, I went from being a classically trained musician to like composers are other people was my thought to writing and arranging all of the music on that album and watching it come to life,
Mm,
listening to it coming to life in the studio, and then having it go on to win awards. And I have to say, I'm for myself, I still, whenever I hear something, I mean, like, you know, we have playlists and all of a sudden it's one of my songs on the playlist that I created. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I remember that, you
that's
know,
so
and I
amazing.
haven't, I'm not tired of any of them. I'm not tired of any of them.
Well, you know, you have a creative spirit, and that probably fuels you as well.
Very much so.
Big
Very
part of
much.
keeping you moving, right?
Yeah,
It's a blessing.
it is.
Wow. Well, this has been an amazing talk. I think we could probably keep going,
Of course we could.
but we should close up for today, and maybe we'll have you come back and we'll do some more chat afterwards. But maybe after the book is out, we can do this again.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. So, any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share just as a summary?
Well, I would just encourage people to buy the book.
Well said. Well said. Yes, check it out. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Holly. I really appreciate your point of view, your experience, and the fact that you are so open to sharing your gifts in all these different ways. Uh, you know, I totally understand, not sticking to one modality or one subject line. But it can be a difficult thing to juggle when you've got so many things going on. So I'm really grateful that you fit this in today and that, you've explained a lot of this. I'm sure this is going to answer a lot of questions for a lot of people who really don't understand or didn't understand how valuable it is to individualize their plan and to look at it from a system that actually is built to do that,
Yes.
right? It's more than just a questionnaire. It's more than just, well, why don't you try this now instead then? It's, there's research and there's years of, you know, um, active practice
Yes.
with this. So I'm really excited that we got to introduce people to it if they've never heard of it before, and maybe they have, but it's time for them to take another peek. So I'm
Well, and thank you so much for having me on here, Arlana, and helping me to spread the word.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so grateful that you were here today.
Likewise.
So thanks again for sharing your work, and I'll let everybody know to connect with Holly and to explore her work more deeply. You'll find all her contact details shared in the description below, and you're welcome to reach out, and we'll also be posting when the book is actually live, and I'll post the link in the description as well, how to get the book. So for everyone listening, I invite you to take a moment to notice what stood out for you from this talk today, how it might support you or someone else on their journey. And I ask that you share this podcast with someone who may enjoy this content, and I'd love to hear your takeaways. Leave your comments and questions in the comments below. Until next time, be well, stay open, and I look forward to sharing more of this with you on the next podcast. Thanks again to our wonderful guest, Holly, for sharing such insightful and practical information with us today. If you would like to connect with her for more information or to book a session, everything is listed in the details below. If you found value in today's conversation, please like, share, and comment, and I invite you to follow the podcast and share it with someone who may also enjoy this content. You can find more resources and connect with trusted holistic wellness professionals through the We Wellness Network and by joining our People, Pets, and the Planet community. You can find all the links in the description below. We Wellness is here to support a more holistic connection for people, pets, and the planet.